This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, friends, and hi. It is CWK Live. Now, on Monday nights during my son's baseball season, I am your host, Dan Zehr, delighted to talk Star Wars with each and every one of you. Hello, my friends. I'm thankful for all of you who are able to join us tonight on our different time. Normally, as you know, we do the show on Tuesdays, but with the way things worked out in my life, I had to switch to Mondays for a couple of months, so thank you for your patience. Looks like we've still got a wonderful amount of you who are joining us, and speaking of that, let's bring them in. First, the one and only Terry King. Hello, Terry. Welcome back to the show. Great to see you. Mary says, happy Tuesday. I'm driving home from Batu, so I'll only be able to listen. Looking forward to hearing everyone's top fives for these episodes. Well, Mary, it's great to have you on the show, of course, and drive safely as you're driving home from Batu. Looking forward to the pictures, which I know you sent a few already. Minta is not able to make it tonight. Want to drop in and say hi. Hope everyone had a chance to view the eclipse. May the force be with you. I did get to view the eclipse. Meantime, thank you. It's good to see you. Looking forward to having you come back to the show when you're able to make it. The eclipse was pretty marvelous. What a wonderful world we live in that we can see amazing natural things like that. Just such a blessing. Darren, CWK Monday. Hello, Darren. Good to see you, buddy. And Robert says, finally, something to look forward to on Monday, CWK Day. Yes, how about it? And Jason is here too. Hello there, Jason. Well, what is on the show for this evening? I am glad you asked. What do we got? We have your top 10. That's right, 10 moments from tonight. We're going to look at 2 episodes, Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. 2 really, really compelling episodes that are very heavy. And because they were both presented on the same night, they're 2-parters, so we're going to do a 2-parter. We've also got your Aurebesh lessons and your comments and questions. Darren says that Burr Waffle and Mr. Fudge say hi, but they cannot attend as they have previous commitments on Monday nights. Rats, we will miss them both, but hopefully they can share their top 5s later on Facebook. So let's take a look at what is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. All right. Well, that is not necessarily new news. We're going to go right. We're not going to do our news tonight because I feel like we needed to go into what I've forgotten the last 2 weeks, but fortunately Darren has reminded me, and that is our Aurebesh weekly lessons. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so there we go. This is probably the worst I've done with my Aurebesh lessons. Life is really getting in the way, but it hasn't stopped me from preparing lessons for this week. In fact, I was trying to test myself earlier, over the weekend actually, and I couldn't think of the letter B. It was driving me crazy. Like, I knew the A, as you can see right there on the screens, if you're watching the video, and I just could not for the life of me remember what the letter B was. And then I remembered, oh wait, it looks like an 8-bit hamburger, which is what I always used to say. So there it is. You know, I can't give you a hard time for not keeping up with your Aurebesh lessons if I'm not going to do the same thing. So this is going to be a refresher for me as much as it probably is for you, although some of you may be quite proficient at this point in the game. But there's the letter B. There's our letter C, which I think is one of the easier ones to remember. Well, I used to say that about the letter B too, and I just told you how that went. The letter D, very, very similar to what we learned last week, except it's got that line across the middle right there. We've got the letter E, and I always think I know I say this all the time, but it's funny. I imagine people listening to the show, because whether you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook or on Twitter/X, you can see the video, but if you're listening to the audio, then you're just like, okay, these guys are studying the alphabet. Yes, it is true. The Aurebesh alphabet, which we are trying to figure out how to decipher and write. There's the letter F. the letter G, or sandcrawler as Liberty calls it. There's a letter H, which is a very kind of a similar version of the C, but it's turned horizontally, and horizontal and H both start with the letter H. How about that? So there you go. The letter I, which looks like the number 1. The letter J, which looks like someone holding a Lego hand upside down. The letter K, which is like a backwards C. The letter L, which looks like a check mark. The letter M, which looks like a Lego figure making a muscle. The letter N looks like an upside down V with a slightly curved half C on the left of it. The letter O, which I never remember the geometric shape for that. Rhombus, triangle, I don't know what it is. It's not a triangle. That has 3 sides. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. The letter P, which I've never really been able to think of a quick shortcut for the letter P, but you've got a backwards L, a standard horizontal and vertical L, and then you've got a slight curved half circle with a line coming down, and that's the P. There's really not anything to compare the letter P to, although I'm certainly open to other ideas. Then the letter Q is almost like a half full square, and then they cut the right part from the middle point down and the bottom left part of the line down too. I'm drawing it with my hand. Again, if you're listening, I apologize. Probably makes no sense. But trust me, look at the Facebook or YouTube video and it will show you how to do it. The letter R we learned last week, and that's the number 7. So if you see a number 7 in Aurebesh anywhere, that's an R. As far as a trick to remember that, I don't know, because I don't feel like a 7 and an R look very, very similar. Darren, you're usually good at helping me come up with little tricks. But that's the letter R. And then this week is the letter S. The letter S looks like, well, if you zoom out, and I feel like when you see the letter S in Aurebesh really quickly on the Bad Batch or something like that, it looks like an arrow pointing diagonally down to the right. Now, when you zoom in like this, it looks like a really funky V with a little side diagonal line coming on the left side, or like 8-bit bird tracks, like chicken bird tracks, I guess. It's a good thing I don't teach phonics, because boy, oh boy, I would feel really concerned about the kids who had to take phonics for me. But fortunately, I don't teach phonics. Does anyone teach phonics? I don't even think that's a thing anymore. I just teach high school seniors, and they have not asked me to teach Aurebesh. Although, you know what? We're getting a lot of practice, aren't we? So there's the letter S. Again, try to think of it with a diagonal arrow pointing to the right. Darren says S is like the L with an extra line. Yeah, just kind of a different variation of that L, but I could see that. It just kind of is almost like it's flipped with a little line on the bottom, a diagonal line. So there is the letter S. That is the new one. Ian says, forgot it. Moved today just in time for lessons. Hello, Ian. Welcome back, buddy. Great to have you on the show. Yes, just in time for lessons. You got to miss me poorly describe things that really work better in a video version. But either way, I appreciate you sticking with me as we go through these. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7 lessons left, so 7 weeks left, and we're going to be all done with Aurebesh. So I'm going to try really hard to get myself caught up, because I like to quiz myself on these and try to write them. In fact, even like when I'm sitting there like waiting for something in between classes, or waiting in the car for something or whatever, I like try to go through the alphabet in my brain. And again, nothing works quite so well as writing them up. But that's not the main reason you're here, although I'm certainly grateful for whatever reason you are here. The main reason you're here is we're going to go through our top 5. Tonight's top 5, we're going to go through the next 2 episodes of Star Wars The Bad Batch. And this week we had Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. Identity Crisis, as Father Jimmy pointed out on Coffee with Kenobi this week, is the only episode of The Bad Batch that doesn't feature anyone from The Bad Batch. Not Omega, not any of The Bad Batch, Clone Force 99 either, including Echo. But it does feature some really startling revelations about what the Empire has in mind for children who have a strong M count, which of course we know is midichlorians. So let's look at this. We're going to look at Identity Crisis first. We're going to look at the first episode of this two-parter, Identity Crisis first. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here is number 5, and again, try to keep your top 5 separate. Keep Identity Crisis for this first round of top 5s, and then the next round of top 5s is going to be Point of No Return. So here we go. Number 5 for me, Cad Bane returns. Look, he wasn't nice. He's never nice. And he's very sinister and completely careless. Not careless. Well, he's certainly amoral. He doesn't care. He cares about getting paid. He cares about credits. Doesn't care about tearing families apart, which he does. That part is not going my top 5 or any top anything except for worse things to do. But it's a fiction universe. And in this fiction universe, before I knew what Cad Bane was going to do, I saw Cad Bane and I got to hear his voice. And I've always thought he was such a cool, compelling bounty hunter. So that made my top 5. The fact that Cad Bane was back in animation. Naturally, we know what happens to him in the Book of Boba Fett. But in the animated Star Wars, he's still very much alive because of where this falls in the timeline. So there we go. Cad Bane returns. Number 5 for Robert's Baron, the cute Tarlafar. And Tarlafar's, I believe, if I am correct, first appeared in Solo, a Star Wars story. So yes, adorable in this one. Darren's 5, seen behind all the security kids. Wow. Makes sense that they're looking for Force sensitives. If they had someone in there attuned to the Force, they'd more easily escape. Oh, that's a good point, Darren. Very interesting idea. 5, Cad Bane doing Cad Bane things. Exactly. He's a fascinating looking character. Jason's number 5, the silhouette of his feet, the sound of his spurs. It had to be Cad Bane. Isn't it cool how they do that? How they play that up? And Lori is supporting, thank you for supporting my guess from before. Yes, the Talafar is in Solo. Yes, thank you, Lori. Thank you for confirming that. That's what I thought. Thought I read that on stars.com, but I appreciate you backing me up on that one and sharing, more importantly, sharing the knowledge with all of us, because that's what it's all about. Number 4, the Straw Tuca. Towards the end of the episode, Emery, Dr. Carr, if you will, she produces a Straw Tuca that Omega had made previously and gives it to one of the children that are trapped in the vault. And it was nice for that as a callback. And it was also really nice just to show that Emery has a heart. She's conflicted. We'll get to that later, I'm sure. We have a brand new listener. Not a brand new listener. It's the Sarah Gibbs. Hello, Sarah. It's great to have you on the live show. Sarah says, hello there, new to CWK Live, but a long-time podcast listener. Dr. Carr meeting the assets, Force-sensitive children. Well, that's great. And Sarah, let's give Sarah a round of applause. Great to have you on the show. This is really fun. Oh, there we go. Okay. Robert's number 4, it's difficult to choose any favorite moment from Identity Crisis because it's so dark, but I did like seeing Cad Bane's return. He's a great villain. Robert, I'm glad you brought that up, because when I watched this episode, I'm like, ugh, I don't even know if I want to talk about this episode on the live show, because the live show to me is such a great escape when we get to all talk about these episodes. But you are not mistaken, Robert. This was a very depressing episode. In fact, I rated it low on my show last week with Father Jimmy and Mason because it just really took a lot of wind out of my sails. But it's effective storytelling. And so it was a good challenge for me to try to find things that were redeemable here, which is why, well, we'll see. We'll see how I do. But I agree, Robert. It's hard to find favorites in this one. Terry's number 4, there's more to Dr. Emery Carr. Exactly. And those are the kind of nuggets that kept me going through the episode, because it's Star Wars, right? So there has to be hope of some kind. Has to be. All right. There are so many of you watching now. So feel free to weigh in on your top 5. Or even if you want, I'm going to put on this new hat that Disney sent me. It looks cool. Even though I'm not, well, yeah. So there it is. This is from Heroes and Villains. Remember, if you use the code COFFEE, you get 20% off your order. But they, and along with Disney, sent me a cool box of stuff, which I posted on online, but this is the Imperial hat. And since you know Aurebesh, maybe you can translate this. Let's see. Jason said the Empire collecting Force-sensitive children remind me of Rebels and the Children of the Force. I agree with that so much. I thought of that too, Jason. And Darren says, Cad Bane, what in appearance? No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3 for Identity Crisis. I have the music. So the music to me in this episode, boy, does it set a mood. Boy, does it create an emblematic tone that is just so heart-wrenching. And so, it just really, it's like someone drains all of the joy out of your body when you're watching, because it's so sad what's going on with these kids. And then with the music, it just creates this very dour, depressing, dark atmosphere. And you can sense it. It's almost like the music is portraying the kids' depression and sadness and loneliness. And it's very, very effective storytelling. So kudos to the Kiner brothers for once again, like their father, really creating incredible atmospheres. Incredible. Number 4 for Sarah, Eva was such a sweet character, showing concern for SP32, which is Jax. Yeah, Eva is very sweet. Jax is cool. And you feel bad for him too. He's a sweet kid. He wants to get out. He wants to see his family. But yes, thank you for pointing out Eva. She's a really sweet character. Mason liked her too. Darren's 3. Emery NC includes that she may switch sides. Interesting. Robert's number 3. Wrecker saves Gonky. That was fun. Wait, that isn't in this episode, I don't think. I think you're thinking of the next one, maybe. I gotta think about that. Yeah, I don't think Wrecker's in this one. Terry's 3. Innocence, stripped from the children in Project Necromancer. That's pretty rough, but it's definitely there. 3 for Jason, the use of music. Jason, number 3, excuse me. The use of music and lighting to convey the evil nature of the Empire. Yes. Very effective. 3 for Sarah. Cad Bane, I heard his spurs when he was outside the door. I knew it was him immediately. It's almost like you expect him to show up, because whenever there's something really sinister and diabolical, there's typically one person who's going to walk through that door. And you know it's going to be an instant problem for your heroes, whatever show you're watching. And Cad Bane more than fits that bill. Ian's 3, conversation with Nalase and Emery. Felt like a lot was said without anything explicit being given away. You know what? That's pretty insightful, Ian. I agree with that. There's a lot said, but yet we don't know anything, which kind of shows the emptiness that they all feel, I think, as well. All right, if you have any 3s that come up later, feel free to add them, but I'm going to go ahead and jump to number 2, just because we have 2 episodes to get through. Number 2, Emery's conflict. Terry and some of you have mentioned there's more to Emery than meets the eye, and I agree with that. Emery is, you can tell she doesn't agree with what's going on. She's not happy. She tries to advocate for the kids in her own way, but she's still not assertive enough. And maybe that's not even a fair way to say it. It's not that she's not assertive enough. It's just that she works for the Empire, and she's in a situation where, I mean, as we know, if you're not for the Empire, you're against them, and they don't really have any room in any wiggle room. It's absolute belief, right? And she might have believed, but maybe this is the first time she's seen how innocents are treated, or what the Empire will do to get what they want. You know, with zero empathy or compassion of any kind. So there's conflict there. But the fact that she gives the straw tuka to what's the little girl's name again? I'm trying to scroll back because I know one of you mentioned it before. I think it was you, Sarah. Eva, yeah, or Ava, giving the straw tuka to Ava that Omega had originally built. That shows character. And this is, again, why I like the Bad Batch so much, especially this season. It's a lot of show, don't tell storytelling. The characterization that is constantly used in the Bad Batch is remarkable, strong, and effective. But they don't spell it out for you or dumb it down. They just let the story and the characters tell what's happening. And Emery's conflict is there without it being explicitly stated. And I really like that style. All right. Darren's 2, very good production, music, lighting, animation, hitting it out of the park constantly. Darren, constantly. Totally agree. Jason's number 2, Dr. Carr questioning the Empire's motives with Project Necromancer. Yes. Number 2 for Robert, Emery bringing Ava's Omega Straw Tuca doll. Yes, I agree. That's an important part of this. And Sarah's 2, Nalase telling Dr. Carr she must protect them now. Yes, and Nalase has stopped trying to pretend or be clever or creative. She's legitimately trying to help these kids. And now she's passing that torch, in essence, to Dr. Carr, to Emery. Number 2 for Terry, the transition of Omega into the beginnings of an adult by her giving her Tuca doll to the Pabu Museum. Yes, or Lula doll is what Terry wrote. And that's great. But that's the next episode. We're going to get to that, Terry, I promise. That'll be the next round. Let's just get to number 1, because a few of you had brought some great ones from the second episode. For me, I put the Vault. The Vault is important because it shows what we've been waiting for, what we've been curious about since season 2, and at the beginning of season 3, and what is going on there. Now we know. I don't know what I expected, even though I was trying not to expect anything. It wasn't what I expected. It was far worse. It wasn't some cool monster or creature or force sensitive or some new kind of crazy clone or something like that. It was kids being taken, and it's horrible. But the fact that we get that answer, and it creates a different level of viewing anxiety, if you will, because of the emotion that is put into this and how we feel because of the music, because of the good hearts of these characters, and how much we don't want them to be captured or put up in the vault. It's a very powerful, effective way to dislike the Empire. All right, Darren, moving the story along and from a different point of view. Yes, Jason's number 1, Dr. Carr giving Omega stuffed toy to Ava. It's great. And Terry Nalase is charged to Emery to protect the children, which was very, very effective and very important. Well, I don't really have much more to say about this one. Ian says, number 1, the Vault is my 1. Also, I fully expected to be Snoke-esque's clone, so I was very floored by the reveal. And I'm glad too. And I'm glad it wasn't that. I don't want it to be predictable. And, everybody was thinking that, and I understand why. I mean, I was sort of thinking it too. So I'm glad it was a surprise, although it was a much more depressing surprise, but effective. Number 1 for Robert is the music. Yes, music is a great part of this. And Sarah's number 1, Dr. Carr leaving Omega's doll for Ava. Yes, so good. All right, well, that is going to do it for the first part of this. So now we're going to take a look and talk about the second episode, Point of No Return. Now, before we do that, let's reset our game board a little bit here. I'm going to show you a clip in between from the latest CWK Pour-Over. As you know, if you are a member of the CWK Alliance, you have access to CWK Pour-Over, which is a weekly exclusive audio and video podcast, depending on what level of the CWK Alliance you choose to join. And we talk about topics that you're not heard anywhere else. The videos are exclusive. The audio podcasts are exclusive. We've got, well over 100 shows on there, from things talking about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and movies and books, top 5s, funny stuff, serious stuff, music, all kinds of fun stuff. But this week we talked about the penultimate episode of Marvel Comics series, famous series, which is Secret Wars. I'm trying to get that logo up here for the CWK Pro. Yeah, that's what it looks like. That is what CWK Pour-Over looks like. And if you want to learn out more, go to coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. Let me play a clip for you of this week's CWK Pour-Over. We were talking about the 11th episode in Marvel Secret Wars, issue number 11.
Of that cover, kind of what Weber's looking at. I want to talk about the cover. One second was Iron Man's face is even like, oh, and I didn't know, like, how do you warp your metal face into a shocked look, right? I mean, come on, Iron Man.
I don't know. He did it though.
Rhodey.
He's such a non-character. It's like, it would have made me. Yes. You could see why Iron Man was not a big deal until Robert Downey Jr. in popular culture.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? He's so popular now, and now it's in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. He was kind of fodder, isn't he?
Yeah.
All right. So moving into this issue, what are some things that stood out to you guys? Some moments or some action events or some dialogue? What's the things that stood out to you, Dan?
Well, the one thing I'm super glad you brought up, because I don't know that I really appreciated it fully until you both mentioned it. But the fact that we do see Doom's face would have been a massively, massively big deal to an 80s Marvel Comics fans audience. Seeing him like that, even if you're not really sure what in the world is going on, is so critical and so pivotal. All right, so there you go. That's a little clip from this week's CWK Pour-Over. I mean, hopefully there's enough context there, but we do at the beginning of each episode when we talk about that comic book series. And we talk about all kinds of things: comics, movies, Disney Plus shows. On Easter, we did top 5 favorite Easter candies. We just try to have a lot of fun. But we were talking about the cover of that comic, and hopefully we'll break it down like we do anything on Coffee with Kenobi, where you try to have fun. But you also want to analyze it. And I apply my English teacher hat to it for sure. And just being a fan of pop culture like you all are. And then if you weren't sure, I'm sure you probably are, but Corey Clubb was on the very right. He is the co-creator of Coffee with Kenobi. He was my co-host on the radio show for 4 years. And then Tom Gross in the middle, of course, is another mainstay of Coffee with Kenobi as well, and my other co-host on Pour-Over. All right, so there you go. Now we're going to talk about Point of No Return. Before we do, Terry's number 2 is Emery giving Ava the straw. Tukadal Omega made should have been my number 2 earlier. Oh, yeah. No problem, Terry. No problem at all. Let's go ahead and talk about Point of No Return. The return of old friends. So, Pabu has that's the name of the guy who is like in charge. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on the names of the planets. Help me out here. What is the name of the planet? Pabu. Yeah, Pabu. Pabu is the planet, right? That Darren's was seeing them there on the planet, and then, oh my gosh, I wrote down the names of these characters, and then I left them at school. So, the little girl and the man who was in charge of the planet, Pabu. It is Pabu. Yeah. Seeing them back with Omega giving hugs was really sweet. What is her name? Is it oh my gosh. I'm sort of embarrassed, but I'm also not, because it happens. You know, I don't remember their names. We haven't seen them, but it was nice to see them back. So if someone could help me out, that would be great. 5 for Terry is the persistence of the Phase Zero Trooper. That is for sure. Talk about at least like a T1000 with his persistence. Darren's number 5 is the great music. The music is terrific on this one. Number 5 for Jason is no, not the Marauder. I know when it happened, I'm like, geez, the Razor Crest and the Marauder blowing up these awesome ships that are like homes for these characters. What a bummer. Robert's 5 is Daniel Logan and Matt Lanter returning. Oh, how about it? I don't think I realized that, Robert. So you just taught me something. I appreciate that very much. Is it Lanessa? Is that the name of the little girl? No one's told me yet. Let's see. Sarah's number 5 record complaining about loading the ship. He yells to bring them back an ice cone. He was better make it too. Typical record. I like that too. I thought that was pretty funny. And it's almost like we got cannon ice cream, but it's an ice cone. Still, it looks pretty fun and pretty tasty to me. So that's my number 5, seeing the return of old friends. Liana. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Liana is the little girl that Omega is friends with, that she meets on this planet from season 2, and it was great to see her back. Great to see her back. All right, let's go to number 4. And thank you again, Jason. I appreciate it. Number 4 for me, I put the calm before the storm. So they do this great thing where they make you feel peace. You're on Pabu. Everyone's, getting along, reminiscing, making a plan. But if you'll notice, and Father Jimmy pointed this out on Coffee with Kenobi, it starts to get darker and darker and darker. And there's like a calm. But then the calm goes away because the Empire shows up. So it gives you that false eeriness, that peace of mind. They're like, oh, things are fine, but you know they're not fine. It's too quiet. And that calm before the storm is a great way to set up tragedy, which is what happens later in the episode. Darren's for not a best moment, but a moving moment, the loss of the Marauder. Yes, something that stands out. Top 5 moments might just be how the story is told. And Darren, that's certainly the way the story is told that's effective. Terry has a fantastic one that I should put on my list. Terry's 4 is Omega leaving Tech's goggles in the Pabu Museum. Yes, that is so important and integral. That was even the picture of my advertisement. So that's a great one, Terry. Number 4 for Jason, Omega's moment of meditation aboard Clone X's operative ship en route to Tantus. I like that too. It's at the very end, but she takes a little bit of a breath, and when I saw that, I thought it was a little bit of excitement because I was excited because I thought she's okay. She's going to be okay. She's able to be calm in the face of adversity, which we've seen time and again with her. Okay, let's go to number 3. And as promised, I brought a drink of water because I lose my voice talking so much, and I'm going to pause it now and do that. All right, came prepared this time. So Hunter's plan is so classic Hunter. I think it's been a while since we've really seen Hunter kind of do his thing. He's a great scout. He's a fantastic warrior. He's a man of stealth and focus and vision. And to see him cut loose like this and try to take one of those gunships, Republic gunships, doesn't work. But the way he survives the explosion and just his ploy itself, and even Crosshair saying, "There's Hunter." It was like there was this sense of pride. Look at watching Hunter work. So it was really cool to see him get a brief adventurous hero moment. Let's see. 4 for Sarah being back on Pabu, seeing Omega with her friend. Excellent stuff. Robert says, number 4 record saves Gonky. Now you can add it. Yes, Robert, sorry about that, buddy. I'm sure I didn't communicate it well. I had 2 separate top 5s, but you're right. And I'm glad you said that one. I love that one too. I put that as a clip for the opening of the podcast this week, actually. 3 for Darren, seeing Wrecker almost get killed, but he saved Gonky. I was worried that Wrecker was going to die. I said that on Coffee with Kenobi this week because he was down and unconscious for a long time. And we already know because of tech, there's vulnerability here. And it was definitely nerve-wracking. It adds to the emotion. Robert 3, ships just don't blow up, which is it's almost like we're going to need a bigger boat, isn't that, Robert? That's a good line. It creates, again, really ominous atmosphere. Number 3 for Jason, Crosshair agreeing to Omega's plan of surrendering to the Empire in hopes of protecting the village and locating Tantus. That was very brave and not easy to do, and very important. Terry's 3, Crosshair trusting Omega's plan, then not being able to perform his part in setting the tracker, which just rips your heart out because the whole series has been about Crosshair being such a great crack shot, and then he misses. But he was distracted, but that didn't really stop him before. Either way, again, you're seeing Wrecker hurt. Seeing Crosshair can't make the shot. Hunter can't make the rescue. It just makes you feel like it's inevitable. Like everybody feels helpless. And all the key players not being able to do their thing to the best of their ability, it makes you worry about the vulnerability of the crew. It really does. Sarah's 3, Omega leaving Tech's goggles and the doll. When she says this is the only place that feels like home. That was a really moving part of all of this, I would say. All right, let's go to number 2. And hello and thank you to all of you who are joining us on the show tonight. It's always great to see so many people here. Number 2 is Omega's bravery. Several of you pointed this out, and so I'll just briefly add to that. Look, Omega continually shows she's incredibly brave. She's fearless. I mean, that's not true. She is afraid, but not so much that it affects what she's going to do. She's the opposite of a coward. She's one of the bravest people in Star Wars, and very inspiring. Very, very inspiring. And it's a great act of selfless love, caring about the people on the planet and her brothers and not wanting any harm to befall them. And that bravery is what continues to make her such a prized character to so many of us, and it's so cool to see that. All right, let's see. Let me find where we left off at. Oh, Darren's number 2 is seeing Omega come up with a plan that is quite scary. It was a scary plan. Hopefully, we'll see. Number 2 for Jason, the incredible sense of defeat when Crosshair missed the Clone X operative ship with the tracking device. He was rushed and moving, but a fully functional Crosshair would have hit that shot. Even with his helmet on, you could just feel his emotion. I agree. And that fact that he had the helmet on and you could still tell that he was pretty upset about it was a big deal. 2 for Terry. Omega's continued persistence to do what is right in her eyes by surrendering. Yeah, and the eyes tell a lot in this, don't they, Terry? The animators did such a marvelous job with that. Sarah's 2, Hunter being Hunter. First, he immediately senses something is coming, and then he heads out to get them a ship. Yes, exactly. He doesn't wait around and feel sorry. He's a man of action. 2 for Robert. Crosshair's clear disappointment and frustration at missing the target. And I'm glad, Robert, that you brought that up. And I'm glad that when Crosshair does this, he's sad, but he doesn't go berserk or go into some rage. He's processing. He's a big time internal processor, which should be no surprise what we've seen of him. You can tell it affects him, but it doesn't stop him from being focused on what is next. And what is next? It's our number 1 thing from this episode. Put a no return. Number 1 for me, I put the Imperial Effect. Sorry I didn't number it, but that is my number 1. The Imperial Effect. Ignore the hat I'm wearing for now, for what I'm about to say. This is the first time I can honestly say that I hated the Empire. Like fiction hate, not real hate. Don't really want to hate anything. That's leads to the dark side. It's not very kind either. But from a story perspective, I hated the Empire in this episode. They were so mean and indifferent to the suffering. This peaceful Pabu, this planet, has been like an oasis for them. We know that the creators of the Bad Batch designed this planet during COVID because it was the ultimate place they would have liked to go. And to see it destroyed so carelessly by the Empire until they got their way, the ultimate bullies burning down houses and hurting people, made me so angry. But again, while I don't like it, from a story perspective, if a story can make me feel that way, that's really well done. And so the Imperial Effect of making you hate the Empire, this did it. This did it all. And it was very effective. So that is my number 1 for Point of No Return. Let's see what everybody else has here. Robert's 2 was Crosshair's clear disappointment and frustration of missing the target. Definitely. Number 1 for Terry, transition of Omega into the beginnings of an adult by giving her Lula doll to the Pabu Museum. Yes, excellent, thank you. Terry, don't worry about pacing it too early. That's my fault for not being clearer in my ideas for this. Then 1 for Darren, hoping Omega has more than one tracker since Crosshair was interfered with in that shooting the tracker onto the ship. I do too. I hope there's a backup plan. And 1 for Robert. Omega is willing to risk herself for the bigger mission. Always. She's so awesome that way. Number 1 for Jason. Omega sacrificing herself and surrendering to the Empire to protect the innocent people of Pabu. How very Luke Skywalker for. I thought of that too. Sarah's number 1. Omega realizing that she needs to sacrifice herself. She tells Crosshair they need to focus on the bigger mission. She's a true Star Wars character willing to sacrifice herself for her friends and essentially her family. A true Star Wars moment. That's right. And and thank you, Sarah. And Jason, you saying that and mentioning Luke, I'm trying to think about the time and when this is done and how old Luke is. I mean, obviously she's older than Luke, but that'd be cool. That's cool to sort of think of them in the same universe. You know what I mean? Just because we jump around so much in Star Wars and storytelling, it can be easy to confuse who's around when, at what time, and what story, and what they're doing. I guess you could look at the Star Wars Timelines book. Naturally, that would help a lot. But it is really interesting. You know what else is interesting? All of your feedback, all of your comments on our top 10 list from both of these episodes. My goodness, all of you, thank you so much. Our top 10 moments from Star Wars The Bad Batch at Any Crisis and Point of No Return. So what are we going to talk about next week? And it's going to still be next Monday. But next week's top 5, we got 1 episode, so it's just a top 5. The episode is called Juggernaut. We're going to talk about our top 5 moments from the Bad Batch's Juggernaut next Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. But now, let's go to Ask Dan Z. All right, before we get into your questions, don't forget, I've heard a lot from MEI. People are starting to book our trip on the Disney Wish, June 16th to the 20th, 2025. You can join me and my family and members of the Star Wars and Coffee with Kenobi community with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel on the Disney Wish. You can go on the Hyperspace Lounge with us. You go to Castaway Cay, which is Disney's private island. It's going to be so much fun. Look, if you want to get a no-cost, no obligation quote, go to coffeewithkenobi.com/DisneyWish. You put down a deposit if you chose to do so, but it's a no cost, no obligation quote, so there's no pressure of any kind. But just know that option is there. It's a great way to get together with Star Wars friends from around the planet that will become like family, honestly. It's very, very possible that it certainly happened to me in my lifetime, and I don't think the full amount is due until March of next year anyway. So you've got time to really look into that, which is great. Mary says, ditto to everyone's top 10. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for joining us while driving. Darren, do I know or think if Lucasfilm will continue creating an animated Star Wars series? You know, what I know is that, as you saw the trailer, May the 4th, we're going to have a new series, a small series called Tales of the Empire, which is so exciting. I can't wait to see that and find out more about that. It's going to be, again, very similar to Tales of the Jedi. They're going to come out on May the 4th. There's going to be 6 episodes with Morgan Elsbeth. And then you may remember from the Clone Wars, before Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order, she is framed for a murder she doesn't commit, and the person who turned against her is going to be in this as an Inquisitor, and this is all in the actual trailers itself. So be sure to check it out. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com and check it out. I've been doing a lot of stuff on Coffee with Kenobi's website. I hope you've been able to join it. And based on the numbers, a lot of people are checking out Coffee with Kenobi for Star Wars news, merchandise, reviews, all that good stuff. So last week, this was funny. Mary had said to me, hey, did you get an advanced copy of the Bad Batch? And I was still like, wait, what? And then, because I didn't think that I had. And then I was on vacation, as you know, 2 weeks ago. So I kind of just turned my brain off. And then I opened up my email, and lo and behold, I did have them. So I have seen the next 3 episodes of Star Wars The Bad Batch. I will not spoil anything. You know I won't. You know I'm very much an anti-spoiler guy, so I'm not going to share. But I am excited to talk about the next 3 episodes with you. I've still not seen the finale. No one has seen the finale except for the creators and maybe some really, really fortunate people strong in the Force. But I've seen the next 3, and I'm very excited to talk about them with all of you here on Coffee with Kenobi. Not only the live show, again next Monday at 7 o'clock, but on Coffee with Kenobi as well. Yeah, and Barriss Offee is the name of that Jedi that turned against Ahsoka, and now she's going to be an Inquisitor, it seems. And I actually did remember that name. I just got distracted looking at all of your comments. So thank you, Mary, so much. Terry says, not a question, but I'd love to see George Lucas come back and write a few episodes of a future Disney Plus series. Oh, gosh. That'd be awesome. Look, who wouldn't love that? That is a great idea, Terry. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining, for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I appreciate it. I appreciate you spreading the word. I appreciate those of you who join the CWK Alliance. You get access to Pour-Over, but you also support me, and you help the Children of St. Jude, because 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Again, find out more about that at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. One of my reasons I'm a big CWK fan, no spoilers. Well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. That will always be the way. That's been my goal from day one. No spoilers, build a community, and provide a voice for people. And that's what I hope you feel like you have here at Coffee with Kenobi. You have a voice. Your Star Wars opinion matters. Your Star Wars opinion counts. And I am grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for learning from you. I hope that you had a great time on the show tonight. I hope that you learned something. I know that I did too. Until next time, may the stars light your way, my friends. This is the live podcast you're looking for. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.